Hi everyone and welcome to episode 294 of the Mighty Whites podcast. I'm Jack, as always joined by KC.
Know it?
How's things, mate? You all sorted for Christmas?
Yeah, apart from all the wrapping still to do. But, it's not midnight yet, so I'm still on course.
Yeah. I hadn't done any of the stuff that I needed to do. Fortunately, that wasn't much because Sarah does all of the Christmas wrapping except for her stuff. And because I had to get up and drive to the train station at 5 o'clock this morning, when I got home, even I couldn't find an excuse to not do it then.
I would start now, but my Real Madrid team are now 21 straight wins in the league, and it's really tough to stop when you're on a roll like that.
It is. It's almost impossible, actually. Hence why FM gets played until 3 o'clock in the morning and stuff.
It's good to see Archie Gray dominating Europe.
Yeah. You could just, if you want to play like it's real, then you need to stick Archie Gray at left centre back and just stick your defensive line on the halfway line.
It seems to work.
Going forward, seems to work in one direction. It seemed to work on Saturday as well. Leeds 4, Oxford 0.
Yeah, really. It was a solid performance.
Yeah, it's sort of weird that normally a 4-0 win, you'd think you'd be coming in going, oh my God, Leeds were brilliant. And Leeds were good, but I just think it was the talent differential was so big that a good performance was always going to be enough to really comfortably win the game. Like, to be fair to Oxford, although it was 4-0 and it was a very one-sided game, they put up a lot more of a fight than, say, Plymouth did.
Well, it's what getting a big-name manager in like Craig Short does for you. Yeah, really gives you that fighting spirit.
Is that who the caretaker was?
That is who their caretaker is.
I genuinely never even looked.
So if you ever found yourself sitting around thinking, what's Craig Short doing now? Now you know.
Cool. Yeah, obviously I knew Rowett was getting the job, but I never even looked at who the caretaker was. Leeds were on top immediately. They very nearly scored through Tanaka after like a couple of minutes. And from my side of the ground, I thought he had scored. And it was just all Leeds pushing them back. And then sort of, I don't even know how far into the game it was, about 10 minutes. Oxford finally had an attack, which was the worst thing they could possibly have done. Byron blocked a ball, Leeds broke. Peru played it to Solomon. To be honest, it's a crap pass from Peru. Leaves it way short, but Solomon just wins it anyway and runs away from his man and beats the next one. And you're just hoping for that bit of a composure. And he puts it straight across, absolutely on a plate for Dan James as a tap-in. And as with most Leeds games, you're watching it just going, if Leeds get an early goal, this could be a cricket score. And we got the early goal. But to be fair to Oxford, although it was all Leeds, they did manage to get a couple of fairly decent chances before Leeds went 2-0 up. That Placheta went in behind down the left side. It looked like it was... Well, I was going to say it looked like Ampadu mistimed his stepping up. No, if I'm being honest, in the ground, it looked like he was 3 yards offside. But apparently from the TV pictures, he wasn't. But his finish was awful. And then they had a header from a long throw after a weak punch from Melier at the end of the first half. And didn't they have a header from I don't know if it was from a corner or from a cross early in the second half. That was the one where the crowd started to get really nervous when they had the one in the second half.
And I mean, just as a kind of a quick going through with those chances, because there were some decent chances. I think it's Placheta. That's the EFL commentary I heard on him.
He'll have looked more into it more than I did.
Who is someone who has apparently played 50 times for Norwich, and I don't remember a single one of those performances.
The only thing I knew about him was ex-Norwich.
Yeah. He looked like their talisman. But yeah, I think the only thing with that was I think it's Joe Rothwell watches him run across him and just does not react to it at all. I don't know if it's that he's hoping to play him offside by leaving him. But yeah, they do just let him run into acres of space. But like you say, he goes to lash it into the near corner and just slices it wide.
I haven't seen it back on the highlights properly. It did look as if Meslier got off his line fairly well and at least made the angle difficult. I don't think it'd have mattered because the finish was off target by so much anyway.
Yeah, just before we come on to the looping header from a long throw and Ilan Meslier, yes, in that case, yes, I do think he came off his line well and sort of narrowed the angle. Yeah, with the throw in, I'm not entirely sure why Meslier thought he could properly get to it. He's trying to push through what looks like about 5 or 6 bodies in front of him. And I know he gets a hand to it, but it just didn't seem like a ball he needed to be going for there. With the header that followed that, I thought that was really unlucky. It was a really good effort because it's so hard because he was sort of stooping to get under it. So I think he does really well to get any sort of power on it to get it to even loop over the crossbar. So I did think they were a bit unlucky with that. And then, there's the ball. I think it's a free kick in, and Joel Peru just does not mark their centre-back at all. Just sort of stands behind him and much like me at, I wanted to say under 11s, much like me at under 17s, thought, well, if I stand near him, that's basically challenging for a header. And he sort of lifts the knee and he just didn't get anywhere near it. Fortunately, that was I can see why kind of when you're letting them have chances like that, which are easily defendable, why the crowd will get a bit nervy.
Yeah, that header at the start of the second half, that was one where everyone really, it was the only couple of minutes where you felt it start to get a bit nervous. Well, the term I heard around me was, and I had 2 people say variations of this sentence, Leeds are dying to give these a chance.
Yeah, because I think as well, it through the first half, we had a number of chances. Probably not. I don't think there's anything you were looking at where you'd think we should have scored a second.
No, the closest was probably that Peru one on his left foot that the keeper made a decent save from.
Yeah, there's that. Dan James has that curling left foot shot.
Tanaka had one. Rothwell had one.
The Rothwell one is one of those that sort of like the Tanaka one. I think because of the side of the goal it was on looked a lot closer than it actually was with that half volley. So it was one of those where we were constantly creating chances, but none of them you would have said were big chances. And I think in that regard, they did a very good job of just getting bodies into the penalty area when we had possession and just making sure there was always someone going to block it.
Yeah. Luckily, that nervousness didn't last that long because for my money, definitely the pick of the goals. About 20 minutes into the second half. About 12 minutes into the second half. I was thinking of the Aronson one. Dan James, Jayden Bogle and Brendan Aronson all combined to get the ball from the right touchline into sort of the right channel of the box. Bogle plays it into Aronson, who plays a really good reverse pass back to Bogle. Good touch out of his feet and a really good finish low across the keeper. In terms of just like a nice little bit of football, I thought it was absolutely outstanding, to be honest. This was definitely the pick of the goals and one of them that you'd watch back at a later date and go, oh yeah, actually I'd forgotten that was really nice football.
Yeah, it did really well worked goal. I think one of the things we probably did, I don't know if this is more with Oxford, I think in the penalty area they did a good job whenever there was anything centrally of kind of getting in the way of it, shutting it down. But in wide areas, I thought they gave us a lot of space to operate in at times. A bit Jesse Marsh, there did always seem to be someone having to sort of get across to the man on the far side. But yeah, I think it was one of those that as you were watching the game, you just thought, there's another one coming here. Like, I don't think I was... I think the bonus for me was while doing this while working. So I didn't quite feel the pressure that was building. So for me, it was quite comfortable watching that going, everyone will probably be fairly happy in the ground because we are the better team here.
I mean, once that second goal went in, that all the nerves disappeared. Because, you know, it's like everyone's seen Leeds be Leeds. There's always a chance that it doesn't matter who you're playing, they might get one. But there was no sign that Oxford would get two. And I think that Oxford knew that as well, which is why I think it got... Once that second goal went in, I think they dropped off as well and just stopped being quite... The concentration went a little bit. Like the third goal, Oxford just passed... I don't know who it was, but passed it straight to Solomon.
Oh, can I say, it's a wonderful pass. I've no idea who... Because again, in the frame of the television shot you're watching, it's an outside of the foot pass into the middle of the pitch, and there's not a yellow shirt in sight. Like,
Does it have echoes of Rodrigo against Arsenal?
It really... You're just looking going, I've not a clue who you were going for there, but the technique was wonderful. Yeah. And then, from there, as you say, we just... again, nice little bit of intricate play. It's quite nice to see that. Because
Solomon gets his head up well, because he doesn't... He has a few different options and he delays a little bit to pick the best one. And the pass to Aronson is really good. Good touch, good finish. It's one of them things that I annoyingly didn't say on the podcast, but did say to my dad before the game. I just went, Aronson's scoring today. I had him in my bet and everything. I was let down by a lack of shots on target for Tanaka and Rothwell, which is annoying because they did have shots, they just missed.
Yeah, I think a bit of that goal as well was also them stopping to appeal for Joel Peru being in an offside position when that ball goes through, in the hopes that would bring it back. But he was plenty out of the way for that.
Yeah, and then just before the inevitable 70-minute subs, which came in the 74th minute, again, Oxford lose ball. This time it's Peru's turn to drive amble at the Oxford defence. To be honest, he didn't actually need to sprint. He had to wait for the runners to overtake him. So that was a bit unfair. But yeah, he plays Solomon in behind and he just smashes it in with his left foot. Literally his final touch before we got subbed. Again, this time on my early morning drive, heard some of the All Stats Out podcast, which I always like to try and listen to because they will know things that I don't. He's been involved in 6 goals for Leeds now as Solomon. 5 of them have been with his left foot, goals and assists. And he's right-footed. Weird stat. Yeah. But yeah, that was a good, not bothering to try and... everyone knows the thing of... Everyone who's played football knows when you're on your weak side, you do sometimes just try and put your foot through it. And that seemed to be what he did with this.
So I think it's what Pliqueta tried to do in the first half.
Yeah.
It's his first goal at Ellen Road as well.
Yeah. And I may as well just say now, coming away from the ground, there was a few options for man of the match, but 2 assists and a goal. It's probably hard to not give it to Solomon. It was a great assist for the first goal. And then he had about 20 minutes where he wasn't great in the first half. But then he picked back up again. In the second half, he was outstanding.
Yeah, going back to the first goal, I'm still not entirely sure what happens when he picks up possession because he seems to run at a defender, lose the ball, something, and then he's just running in a straight line with the ball again and has about 4 defenders around him.
Yeah, in the ground. And again, answering it back, it looked like what happened was Peru left the pass to him short. So the first one is kind of a bit of a tangle of legs where he's losing the ball, it's not his fault. And the second one, who was coming across, Solomon just does him for pace. Like, it looks like he's going to get there, and then he just doesn't, and Solomon's gone.
I think it's one of the reverse camera angles where you're watching going, no wonder Dan James has so much space behind him. There's 4 people chasing Manor Solomon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought a very good performance from him overall. As you say, very, very tough to beat that with 2 assists and a goal. But he definitely deserved that goal at the end. I think it's what I said on the last podcast as well, is I think he has been a little bit unlucky to have dropped out the last couple of games, because those performances against it was Swansea and I'm trying to remember what the other game was. But he did pretty, he put in a couple of good performances before, just the 2 games before the Blackburn game.
Yeah.
So and very good timing for him to do that with Ramazani on his way back in as well.
Yeah, well, that's the next thing that I've noted down is then you get the subs. Joseph for Peru, Nonto for Aronson, Ramazani for Solomon. Ramazani had sort of a cross in towards him that he brought down with his chest and volleyed wide, where he actually had loads of time. He could have taken another touch and stuff. And he also had a header straight at the keeper, went from a good cross. I think both of those crosses were James. And if the header had gone anywhere other than straight at the keeper, it was a goal. But he looked lively when he came on. Joseph didn't really get a chance to do anything. So I'm not really, but it was interesting to see 15 minutes of Nonto at 10. He dropped in deep really well, I thought, played some nice passes, and he tried a couple of through balls from a bit deeper, tried to really set people away. It's sort of, if that's the type of number 10 that he would be in theory, it looks like he would be a more creative one than Aronson. But it wasn't even nearly enough time to actually make a judgment of it.
Yeah, like you say, it'd be an interesting one. I still don't see Farker not playing Aronson at 10.
Yeah.
While ever he's fit.
If it was gonna, what have we got? We're going to have a game 26th, 29th, 1st, and 4th.
Yeah.
So we're going to have 4 games in 9 days. If he was going to try it, doing it in one of these would be the time.
Yeah. This might have been the opposition to do it against as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because, like you say, I think, especially with the wingers, I think there'll be a lot of chopping and changing with those 4.
Yeah.
Just with the amount of football there's going to be, and I assume Rothwell and Tanaka will play nigh on every minute.
Yeah, well, maybe not. I'll skip a little bit, because Ampadu played 90 minutes. And yeah, it was at centre back, and let's be right, he didn't need to be at full tilt. He'll have done 50 minutes worth of load in that 90 minutes. But it is good to see him get through 90 minutes. It'll definitely have helped. And we did get 10 minutes of him in midfield at the end when Giavogi came on for Rothwell. And I was going, I wonder which one of these will be centre back, thinking that he would just leave Ampadu where he was. But no, he did move Ampadu forward and put big Joss. Not Josh. Joshua.
Joshua.
Yeah. But Ampadu, he looked a bit rusty at the start, as you'd expect, but he really grew into the game. And I reckon by about half an hour in, he just looked like Ampadu again.
Yeah, I think I said to you that evening, I did have a brief moment of, stop passing to fucking Roden. Don't do this.
Yeah.
No, I think it, like I say, he looks absolutely fine. And I suppose when you're coming back from an injury as well, in the way we play, coming in, playing at centre back, you're not going to be covering too much ground anyway. So it's probably a decent way for him to get 90 minutes under his belt.
Yeah. And the last sub to mention is that he got more than 3 minutes, and it wasn't on the wing. Isaac Schmidt came on for Sam Byram. Byram, as always, came in when he comes in at left back. Did solid to well. I would say he was solid first half and good second. But Schmidt, when he came on, got a few touches, looked really technically good on the ball. looks quick, looks strong. There was a lot of sort of jokey frustration in the crowd because it was 4-0 by this point, so there was no actual frustration. But the number of times Leeds had the ball either in the middle or just to the right of the middle of the pitch, and Isaac Schmidt was stood on the far side with what can only be described as a fucking hectare of space. And everyone's just going. It wasn't like the angry, give it Schmidt. It was like just people going, Schmidt, over there. Like, it's perfectly reasonable to just be passing it around calmly at 4-0 up, but there was people going, come on, he never gets to play. Let him have the ball.
Bless him. Yeah, it's good to see him. And then we'll see him again in the new year.
Yeah. I would like to see him start a game, but I mean, I wouldn't be making it. I mean, I certainly wouldn't be making any arguments for dropping Bogle. He was really good, was Bogle. And without, did he have any of the weird defensive things he sometimes does? I think he had one ball was caught in the wind a bit, but he didn't misjudge it and it cleared him because he sort of underjudged it and just like let it bounce a few yards in front of him, and that's literally it. Everything else, and going forward, he was excellent. That pass that he plays from like the fullback area into either the forward or the number 10, it makes such a difference to our. It creates so much like dynamism around him because it always sucks out a centre back, and because it's skipping the winger gets to make runs. It really helps. It was a similar thing to, oh god, we had a different fullback that used to play that pass all the time. It was Barry Douglas. On the other side, Barry Douglas used to really like that pass as well, and it was always good to see. We've already mentioned that. The last one to give a proper shout out to, because I think we have everyone else, is Brendan Aronson's best game for quite a while.
Yeah. I think in terms of his sort of attacking decision making, was definitely one of the better performances. You just hope that this is a season where he can really develop sort of those attacking instincts a bit more, because he will have that extra second in possession.
I can't remember what game it was. He did do it again, turned down a really good shooting opportunity to try and play a pass. I think it was in the first half and he gave it to Peru. But he's still got a bit too much of that.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I feel like ultimately is always going to be with him, that part of his game, as much as he wants to talk about, not just being the pressing midfielder, that he has that creative element to him, that he has the ability to do it in his locker. It's just the awareness side of it that lets him down at times. So I'd say hopefully a season in the Championship where he'll be he'll be in those areas more often, and two, he'll probably get that extra second on the ball to get his head up and make those choices will help him with that.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, he can fuck off home.
Yeah. If he wants to be our American boy, better just pass, kick it harder. It's still too early to properly worry about the other teams, but everyone won in the top four. There is now a little bit of a gap between the top four and then Blackburn in fifth. So that's sort of how it's looking, but they all won. I'll just look at this because Michael has saved me a job of writing anything down. Leeds lost away at Stoke last season, despite Bamford missing the penalty, but he skied it. Yep, that's what happened. It's also what scared Daniel Farker off the idea of ever rotating his squad, because we were terrible and still should have won, but we were terrible. It was the game that Ilya Gruev came in for his first start, and we all thought it was rubbish because that was all the evidence we had at that point.
It was. I mean, that was an awful performance. It was that night. Generally, it was, as you say, we'd kind of rotated the team. I've actually got the team here.
I believe Jayden Anthony started as well.
Yeah, so we've gone Melier, Gray, Roden, Strauch, and Byram, Ampadu, Gruev, Nonto, Georgie, Anthony, and Piru up top.
See, it's not a bad side at all, is it?
No.
It's a bit of a lack of match practice for a couple of them.
Yeah, so because I'm thinking at this point, when is this? So it's sort of back end of
October, November.
It's back end of October. So I'm thinking Glenn Kamara might have started to feature a bit more. So whether it was him, holy cow, Pervader came off the bench in this one.
Yeah,
I forgot about him being around at the start of last season.
He started a couple.
Yeah, well, he sort of had to.
Well, I think it was
yeah, and then like I say, Bamford came on. We all got that sinking feeling when he picked up that penalty, and boy, did he prove us wrong. Well, I love that man, but even I just like, no, Pat, put that down. No, walk away.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal.
Why didn't Crescencio Somerville walk across and no, give me that?
We've got Stoke away at 8 p.m. Boxing Day. Just momentarily thinking about what the fuck kind of a kickoff time is 8 p.m. on Boxing Day. I know that there'll be club coaches and stuff, but how the fuck are you meant to get home if it's public transport?
I think by now we all know that is not Sky and the EFL's concerns. That's not their problem.
No, I mean, I'm going for a pint in the evening on Boxing Day. It works great for me, but that's not the point. It shouldn't be a thing. Stoke's last 5 games, they've got 1 point. In those games, they've played a 3-5-2, then a 4-2-3-1, then a 4-4-2, then back to a 4-2-3-1, then a 3-4-3. That suggests a manager who's struggling to figure things out.
I know nothing about Stoke at this point.
Yeah, they're a bit all over the shop. They've got in I don't actually know how you pronounce it because I've only seen it written down. Narcis Pelach. He was
sometimes known as Chicho.
He was the assistant manager at Norwich before. He is not well liked in the Potteries. From everything I see on Twitter. As the 3 games before that run of 5-way keeps changing, we're all 4-2-3-1, so I'm going to assume that's his preferred shape. However, the Who Scored preview and a couple of other things I've seen suggest that they're expecting it to be a back 3 against us. So I'm going to guess that apparently, basically, they play that Wilmot. It's Ben Wilmot in it. I keep wanting to say Mark Wilmots, but he's like a Belgian footballer from the 90s. Yeah, but it's who I keep wanting to say. But I think he'll play right centre back if they're playing a 3. And then they've got Ben Gibson, who is he now qualified as Championship bastard?
He must be, surely.
Yeah. And then Ashley Phillips, who's on loan from Spurs. He was really good when he was on. He's still on loan from Spurs, but he was really good at Plymouth last season. And he's a bit of an FM wonder kid, isn't he, as well, Ashley Phillips?
Yeah. Am I misremembering this? Didn't Stoke seem to get off to a decent start this season?
I will check. I don't know how decent it was. I mean, they sacked. I think it was in September that they sacked Schumacher. I'm just looking at this, they won on opening day, then lost a couple, won, lost. Then they beat Portsmouth 6-1, and by then I think Pelak's in charge. So they just haven't drawn any under Schumacher.
I think what I'm looking at is that run from smashing Portsmouth through to the 26th of November. They draw 0-0 with Preston, and they only lose 1 game in that run. But they do draw 6. But they do draw 6 of them.
Yeah, Pelak got the job on 18th September 2024.
Okay, so they're coming up. They're not far off 2 months without a win at this point.
Yeah, it's early November. They won 2 in a row.
Yeah,
they it's not just that they're losing; they have apparently deservedly lost loads of games. And the games that they drew, they didn't deserve to win any of them by the sounds of it either. I have seen Stoke. I mean, Stoke fans were a bit perplexed when they sacked Stephen Schumacher anyway, but they're even more perplexed now that they've got this guy in, and it's just got worse, if anything. They seem to be not great. I will say that they've got one massive strength, which is they've got Victor Johansson in goal, who, for my money, is the best goalkeeper in the division. He's not the best with his feet, but he's currently top of that table that Melier was bottom of. And he was top of it every year at Rotherham as well. He's just a really good goalkeeper. Obviously, I've said Ashley Phillips is really good. I'll be honest, because Ender Stevens is injured. The left back is Eric Junior Bocat, who I have no idea who that is, and I don't know the right wing back either. Wouterberger in middle of midfield. A lot of people talk about him quite highly.
I've heard about that place in Texas. Meant to be very nice.
Yeah, I am going to guess that there is an American chain called Whataburger then.
Yeah. That is niche.
Yeah, and Tatsuki Seko is expected to start alongside him. I have no idea if he's any good, but there is a real penchant for Japanese players in the championship at the moment. So let's see if they all seem to be doing well. The front three actually does look pretty good because it looks like it's quite a narrow front three with the wing backs providing the width. We've got Andrew Moran, who's an Irish midfielder who's on loan from Brighton. Every time I've seen him, he looks pretty good. Technically really adept. In my head, I always thought that he played a bit deeper than that, but he seems to be playing as a 10. They've got Bae Yun Ho, who I assume is Korean with that name. He seems to have picked up 5 assists already in a pretty struggling team, which is pretty decent going. And from the brief bits I saw of him and looking around what Stoke fans have said, he looks quite highly rated. And Tom Cannon up front is a good striker. And they've got good options there as well, because Sam Gallagher as the backup isn't bad to be off the bench. And they've got Emre Tezgel as well, who's he's 18 now, I think. But he was their youngest player a couple of years ago. And England and Turkey's FAs were fighting over him because he was expected to be the next big thing. They've also off the bench got Lewis Koumas, who looked really good in the Cups for Liverpool last season. Yes, that is Jason Koumas's kid. Yes, we are all going to die. But yeah, they seem to have decent attacking players and I would go as far as to say a good defender. Saying a good defender is a little bit mean on Wilmot, who I'm not as familiar with. But Ben Gibson didn't look good a couple of years ago.
Do you want another will make you feel old?
I mean, I don't want.
Well, you shall get. On the bench for them is Sol Sidibe, and that is the son of Mamadi Sidibe.
Huh. Yeah, so, it's happening a lot lately, isn't it? That generation. It's because, it's.
Our generation of players are all starting to retire now, and apart from James Milner,
their children are coming through. Speaking of players who retiring, here's someone who should. He's injured, so he'll miss this game, but they do have Ben Pearson. So it's a shame that he's not available because it would just mean that Stoke would be down to 10 men at some point. I was so convinced that he gets sent off seemingly every time he plays Leeds that I looked it up. And it wasn't quite as much as I thought. He's played against us in 9 league games, 1-2, drawn 3, lost 4. He has been sent off 3 times in those 9 games. And last season at Ellen Road, he came on as a sub and still found the time to get booked twice and get sent off.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember it was one of those times where in the stand you looked brilliant because he came on and I jokingly said, "Here comes the walking red card," and then he got booked very soon after and got sent off. And I was like, "See," The other good one that I know a couple of the All-Stars that we guys really like is Milian Manov, who can play on the wing and there's like a right wing back, but he's injured as well. So they really don't have much. Basically, I searched through Stoke Twitter. Luckily, there isn't loads to look at. The messages seem to be Stoke don't know what they are. They don't know whether to press. They don't know what formation to play. And the other message was that they're shite. The Stoke review was, our coach doesn't know what he's doing and we're not very good. So 1-0 Stoke?
I mean, look, first and foremost, and I know we've spent time going through their squad there, but it is an away game, and clearly that is a massive factor.
Yeah, and it's illegal to win away.
Yeah. If you very much discount the teams that have won games away from home, no one ever wins away from home. The only saving grace for me at the moment is the wind. The wind has died down in the last couple of days.
Yeah,
because if you'd have had that wind at the Britannia, could we do it on a windy night in Stoke?
Yeah, and I mean, at least it won't be a Tuesday.
No,
because that is the real stereotype. And then the message from Michael, which is saying something I'd forgotten about because it's still too early in the season to worry about other teams. But yeah, Sheffield United are playing Burnley and Blackburn are playing Sunderland on Boxing Day. And as they're both before us, we could, by kickoff, know how important that a win is even more important than we think it is. If, they all I mean, one of Burnley and Sheffield United is guaranteed to drop points, but they might even both drop some.
This is very much a game we absolutely should be winning.
Yeah, I know it's away and that running joke we've got. Before we do an actual score, do you think Leeds will make any changes? Because there will be rotation over these Christmas games, but this one is more the first of 4. Even though it's only, 5 days after the last one?
I don't know. He might go back to Joseph, but I don't, because you can't even look at the performances he does put Pirro or Joseph in and sort of go, well, there doesn't even seem to be the logic of, well, he plays Pirro against higher level teams where we need a bit more of a physical presence up front. There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason as to which striker he picks when.
No, the brief note I've written here is Joseph for Peru as it's an away game, and that has seemed to help before. But I have no idea. I think he'll bring Strout back in for Ampadu, and then Ampadu maybe he'll be on the bench for this one, and then maybe he starts against Derby on the 29th.
Yeah,
probably maybe in place of Rothwell then.
It's probably not the worst thing in the world if either Tanaka or Rothwell sit out a game at some point soon.
Well, you just said that, and that door behind you is opening. I'm sure it's Dan Moylan coming to kill you.
I love that man. I love Tanaka, but
not Dan Moylan.
Is he coming out of my closet? I think at this time of year, it's more an injuries concern than anything else. I suppose the saving grace for those two is that they've not been first choice since day one. But yeah, as I said before, I think I will be a little bit upset when we decide we're not playing. It'd be Turner and Hooch all over again. Is when we disband Rothwell and Tanaka.
Yeah. Don't worry, we're getting towards that point in the season where Pascal Struijk is out for the season. We've seen it. And I will say about it, just as a thing, and obviously his Farke's pre-Stoke press conference was actually done immediately after the Oxford game. So we won't get any real injury news before this game. And Roden, and I know he has a bit of a penchant for limping around a little bit and stuff, but he did look a little bit injured at the end of the game. So if there's out with him, it could be that we end up Ampadu, Strauch, and Roden misses one.
We'll have Ogie and Ampadu.
Yeah. Now you're cooking with gas. I've had predictions off everyone who isn't here. Connie has a 3-1 win. Alex 2-0. Benny 3-0. They seem to have good attacking players, so I think they'll score one, but they also appear to be terrible at the back, so I've gone for a 3-1 win.
I really
we're
want
away,
to back the draw.
Casey. We're away.
I really want to back the draw, but they are bad. I'm gonna say 2-1 win.
Right, go on the sheet.
I think a Ryan Shaw crossheader is inevitable.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's still captain, isn't he?
Yeah,
must be. From a Rory Longford.
What's Bojan doing these days? Probably injured. I assume probably retired at this point, but.
Well, I think I'm pretty sure he has at this point. But I don't think it was long ago because weirdly, I think I remember reading something. We've got a lot of confidence considering it's an away game, but we really, really should beat these. And for everything we're saying, but it's away and they've got good players. If you ask a Stoke fan, we're going to win this about 5-0. And they know more about Stoke than we do. So I'm sort of taking the word for it at the minute, rather than just it being standard pessimism. That should do us, I believe. I don't think that we have what else that we need to cover, do we?
No.
Well, nice one. Well, yeah, we will. Obviously, that game is late Boxing Day. Leeds play again on like the 29th. So at some point on one of the 27th or 28th, we will find a gap to fit in the podcast. I'm sure that between hangovers and stuff like that, we must be able to find some time.
Oh, you'd like to think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So yeah, that will do us for episode 294 of the Mike White's podcast. I've been Jack. See ya.
I've been Casey. Have a good one.